What's up, everybody? So, over the weekend, I came across this little bit of news. Well, maybe not news, but maybe definitely some gossip. Over the weekend, I saw this really, really cool interview with Tom Cruise that he gave at the British Film Festival. You can find it on YouTube. It's about an hour long, and he kind of does maybe not necessarily a retrospective of his career, but he definitely takes a deeper dive than normal into certain moments in his career. And it just so happens that he kind of goes from beginning to end, but they don't go like, bit by bit. There's just too many things to talk about. But towards the end of the interview, he's talking about how he's actively developing stories, maybe not necessarily scripts, but he is, entertaining ideas and stories for Top Gun 3 and for Days of Thunder 2. Um, I'm of mixed feelings about this. Like I said before, I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan. I love the idea that he's doing like these big budget spectacle action adventure movies, like Mission Impossible and Edge of Tomorrow and Oblivion and even the sequel to Top Gun, which I thought was they waited a little bit too long to actually bring it to fruition, but it was definitely worth the wait. But one of the things that, I've had many conversations with my wife about this. She's not as big a fan as Tom Cruise as I am, so she's kind of had to deal with me just fanboying out on some of the movies that we've seen of him throughout the years. Um, but when I think of Tom Cruise, yes, I think of the big tentpole action events. But more than those, I think of movies he's done like Interview with the Vampire, Jerry Maguire, Collateral. These movies that really kind of he just goes on he shows you how great he can be if he chose to be that great all the time. Now, maybe he's using, his focus on doing something that is unique and memorable and incredible in other avenues, specifically, the big stunt action pieces that he does himself. But when he's focused it on just the acting itself, he's up there with the best of them. He's up there with the Pacinos and the De Niros, with the icons he's worked with, like Paul Newman, and just he's one of those guys. But he has a very specific way in which to approach his career, which I love so much. But I kind of wish he did a little bit more of those, you know, let's say Academy Award caliber type of roles, because when he is on, there's very few that can, meet him at that level. I mean, if even you go back, watch Rain Man, and he's just going toe to toe with Dustin Hoffman. I mean, just one of the absolute greats. And he was a young dude at the time. This is like, 87, 88, 89. This is like, he's just broken into being the movie star that, he continued to be in the 90s and the 2000s and now. But even in that early part of his career, you just see like when he dedicates himself to that specific part of movie making, he's second to none, literally, because he went up toe to toe with Dustin Hoffman and he was great. He went toe to toe with Paul Newman and he was great, you know. And to be in a movie like, let's take Lestat character for example, in Interview with the Vampire, two of the big movie stars of all time, him and Brad Pitt. You don't really think of Brad Pitt's performance so much. You think Tom Cruise, you think Kirsten Dunst, and then, you'll start thinking about Brad Pitt and his role that he plays in there. So while if he makes Top Gun 3 and Days of Thunder 2, awesome. I will definitely watch them and enjoy them. But there's a part of me that's also like, look, you're kind of in this part of your career, and I'm really loving the video clips that are going online where it's almost like he's a motivational speaker. He's talking about things like don't be afraid to be afraid. And he's talking about like just dedicate yourself and write down your goals and have a clear vision. I mean, these are things that you pick up in any self-improvement book, and you'll read an iteration of it in some way. And to see him on the red carpet talking about these things, it's kind of nice and refreshing. because in recently he seems so reserved and very shy, and at this juncture in his career, you see how he's kind of opening up a little bit more about his process and why he does the movies that he does and the way that he does it. I think is really, really amazing. So yeah, Top Gun 3, Days of Thunder 2, I'm all for it, but I'm hoping we can get, some other meteor type of performances before we actually get into, more action movies. Anyways, what about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.